This is a three-way comparison that will knock your socks off. Actually, I don't like that. Let's try that again. This is a three-way comparison that you can shake a stick at. I like that one. That's not bad. We have Phil, old Fiddler's Doctor, Fiddler's Phil, 2013, and he represents the open class. You see what we got going on here, guys, gals, everybody? We have Flex James Lewis. He represents the 212 division. It's him in 2018, by the way. He was pretty consistent. And we have, who's that big tall buck? Anybody recognize that big giant Buckingham over in the corner there? That is maybe the most popular bodybuilder. More so than the open class guys. This is your Classic Physique division legend, Chris Bumstead. Here's the first pose. Front double biceps, and I can hear you size police now. You'll be all over this one. You'll be excited. You'll get a lot of typing time out of this one. Flex James Lewis, he was only, 5 feet 5 inches, I believe. Not very tall at all. Doesn't he look like a Welshman? He does look like I think he is a Welshman. He's from the Wales. But he holds his legs straight, or he held. Doesn't compete anymore. But look at how straight his legs are versus Fiddler's Phil and even Chris Bumstead. So, I'm just going to get that out of the way. I don't want to waste too much of your guys' time. But Phil, yeah, he's quite a bit taller. But it wouldn't appear so the way I sized it. Of course, Phil, yeah, he's bending at the knees. Phil's a beast. I think he's beaten everybody. I think he's running roughshod all over Chris Bumstead. Wheels. I mean, Flex James Lewis, no disrespect meant to him. But the overall shape just does not hold its own against Bumstead or Fiddler's Phil. And Phil, obviously the biggest, most conditioned dude. Now, Bumstead has a chance with the midsection, I guess. I don't know if that would be enough, though. And I know I already did the, and I can hear you guys now bit. But I could already hear you guys before you clicked on the video. Max Muscle, you are a complete moron for not using Keon Pearson. Oh, yeah, well, Keon Pearson, I believe he is perhaps the best ever 212 division champion. And when it comes to this front double biceps pose, I mean, didn't I do a video one time? Keon versus everybody in the front double? And he was pretty much beating almost everybody. Unbelievable. Under 212. He's like you guys said in the comment section below, 10 pounds away. So what an illusion of size. But look at the midsection. It's just a little sliver. The V-taper. Now, Chris Bumstead also didn't really talk about it too much, but get a chance here. His V-taper, look at the lats compared to Fiddler. Old Doctor. Doctor, not the widest V-taper, but take a close look at his hard, grainy condition. Never mind. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But either way, guys, Keon Pearson, we're not going to judge him because he's not advertised. But if we were, I'd give him a good chance of beating Phil in the front double. But obviously the judges are right there looking at the condition, the hard, grainy nature of everybody. So, yeah, see, here's the comparison that is advertised. The best of each division. We're not using King Coleman because, I mean, come on. It doesn't need to be said. King Coleman, he'd beat anybody in any division. At least using Phil, it makes it more interesting. Wow, is Bumstead good in this shot? If it's a muscle competition, if they're just looking at the muscle and condition, there's an argument that Phil would just simply win. Not because he looks better. Obviously, Chris Bumstead looks the best in this one. Kudos to the Welshman. Look at the wide clavicle. Huh? He's got some clavicle width. Not the most narrow midsection, but to go with that wide clavicle. But next to Phil Heath, he has some good points over Phil, but come on. Just, if I said the word muscle competition, a muscle contest. Phil over Flex Lewis in every aspect. In every aspect. Chris Bumstead, there's going to be a lot of people that pick him over old Dr. Phil, at least in the front lat spread. Now, poor Flex Lewis cannot see to swing a punch, whereas Keon Pearson, he's doing all right, isn't he? I did comparisons between him and Bumstead before, and it was a debate in the front lat spread, which is incredible when you think about Bumstead may be the best in the IFBB, open class or not. But then you get Keon Pearson, and he's the best too. Look at that frame structure. Structurally speaking, I think that both of them have old fiddle beat. But Phil, like I said, he is packed with raw, thick muscle mass, and we see that more from the... What happened? Now... Look at Flex's legs. What happened? Does he lose all of his size when he depletes down to 212? Maybe I missized this one, but if I made him any bigger, his head would have got bigger. Know what I'm saying? So this is hilarious. I don't know. His legs look like little pins next to Phil. And Chris Bumstead, he looks good too. Look at how thick raw meat Phil is. I mean, you can see that extra weight. Maybe not from the front because he's more narrow than the average bear, but from the... Did I just say that? Really? Wow. But from the side, geez Louise, he's eating these guys up. What about Keon? He looks a whole lot better than Flex James Lewis. I believe I've done a comparison between those two bucks, and I was in favor of Keon in maybe 5 or 6 out of the 8 poses, but I don't think he's doing enough to beat Phil. Is he doing enough to defeat Chris Bumstead? Thus far, it's actually quite a good little battle between Keon and Chris Bumstead. Now, here's a side tricep. Phil, it's not even close. He is on another planet altogether. You remember pumping iron when Matty got on Lou for the both arms, Louie? Do you think he got on him about the side tricep? Louie. Just one arm, Louie. You don't look at both arms. You just look at the one arm. And then, boom, take a look at this hunk of man. Chris Bumstead, he looks like a beanpole. But... And I hate to be mean like this, but I know it probably gets a few tee-hees out of you bucks. This Flex Lewis, he looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy there, poppin' fresh. Hoo-hoo! That's a soft little girth, isn't it? We're talking puddin'. Georgie Porgy puddin' in a pie. Wow. Here's Pearson. Looks like a similar version of the Dr. Phil. Little bit smaller, though. Maybe not quite as hard and grainy. I don't know. Keon's been getting more conditioned each passing year. And as far as Bumstead is concerned, he doesn't hit the side tricep a whole lot. Doesn't have a whole lot of practice at it. Small midsection, I guess that's maybe the only good thing you can say about it next to the other two dudes. Here is the back, and I was excited, waiting for Flex James Lewis to dominate, perhaps, in these back shots. And size police, go ahead. Give me all you got, guys, but I'm not going to make him any smaller than this. How little his legs are. I was going to make him bigger, but that's just too tall. He's only 5'5". Phil's 5'9". But he's bending at the knees. He's also spreading eagle, is Phil. But it doesn't really matter, guys. If you're arguing about size, wouldn't matter if I made Flex bigger. Phil's still beating him. He's just so complete. What a package. Now, when you look at Flex Lewis, versus Bumstead. Hard graininess, Flex Lewis all the way. He has his glutes are it's squeamish. They're squeamish. Arse. It's a squeamish arse, is what it is. But Bumstead, he's just he's occupying more space. He's got a decent V taper here. But I don't know. Phil, geez, he's good, isn't he? What about old Pearson? How does he hold up against these bucks? Lower half, very substantial. Huh? Pearson. No wonder he's the Olympia champion. Look at that, holding his own against the doctor. Dr. Phillip. Hard condition. Take a close look, guys. Those rich people at home with big screen TVs, you guys can see that, Phil's a little bit better condition up close than Keon. But having said that, Keon is not actually, he's just a guest posing. He was sitting in the front row and they asked him to come on up. Here's the rear double, and I'll be flat out honest. Flex, James, Lewis, he's 7-time Mr. Olympia champion. Actually, 7 for Phil, 7 for Lewis, only 6 for Chris Bumstead. That's interesting, though, isn't it? But yes, I think he might be a tad overrated. His condition, very good, but in none of these poses am I impressed, and I know what's coming after this, and I know I'm not impressed with that at all. But this is his best shot. This should be at least smashing Chris Bumstead. Is it doing enough to defeat Chris Bumstead? The big gangly long arms on Bumstead. Listen to me. I am terrible. Bumstead's not gangly. Maybe compared to my little physique. There, put myself back into my place. Jeez Louise. But having said that, I am sure a lot of you would put Flex James Lewis in a list of perhaps overrated bodybuilders. Because we have Keon Pearson, who I believe is superior in many ways. Maybe not condition. I'll give Flex, maybe from behind, little bit more shredded, but I think it's closer than most people would think. Keon versus Bumstead. We can rehash that little battle if you want. Bumstead, he has that frame. Keon, he has the muscle. Is it a muscle competition or a physique matchup? Here's the abs and thigh. Oh my goodness. I think that our friend, Flex James Lewis, he has jaundiced. The jaundiced, where you turn yellow. Look at his armpits. They forgot to spray tan his armpits. Big thick lats, I'll give him that. Midsection, maybe not the best. Phil Heath, maybe not the best. Chris Bumstead, nice tight midsection. He's going to win the abs and thigh, due to default, I would suggest. Phil Heath gets an easy second prize. He has the lower half. Just much more complete bodybuilders, not only bigger than this yellow armpitted man, Flex James Lewis, but he is just head to toe better. And Keon Pearson, he is absolutely hands down better than Flex James Lewis. But Max Muscle, you haven't seen them in person. Well, no. But I've talked to people that have. And I've heard people say that Flex James Lewis, he won competitions where he shouldn't have. But that's just people. I guess that makes up humankind as people, right? But having said that, guys, Flex James Lewis, he exhibits a very wide clavicle. Look at that next to the doctor. We've seen it in the front lat spread. We can see it here in the most muscular. I just don't think it's enough to get a substantial victory over the doctor in any real particular pose. And when it comes to the Canadian man, he's given us everything he has, guys. And this is from the Prague Pro. There was no Most Muscular from 2020. There was at one point in time. I couldn't find that picture. Maybe I'll take the time and look for it. Maybe after the Olympia, after things cool down. Things of that nature. Ooh, here's Keon. Great big arms on him. He does look like a small, I don't want to say a little miniature version of Phil Heath. He's a great big, real big man. He's over 200 pounds with like 0% body fat, so it's a pretty big guy. But next to Phil Heath, he's not going to beat him because Phil, he has a little bit extra size, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And Bumstead, he's peeled. He just doesn't have the open class arm size, things of that nature, to compete in at least a couple of the shots. But it is absolutely a debate between him and Keon Pearson. Obviously, Phil Heath, you don't even need to take a tally. He's beaten them both. And I have done comparisons between Bumstead and Keon. I will drop one, as what the cool people say. I'll leave it to you at the end. I'll link it to you. Keon versus Bumstead. So have a close look at that one. Now, as far as the Welshman, this is the matchup as advertised. Is he beating Chris Bumstead? In my opinion, no. I actually have Bumstead, and I'll tell you why. It was the side tricep. It was the abs and thigh. The midsection was just too much. Sure, a little bit more condition from behind. Bumstead looked good from behind, and he wasn't soft. But ultimately, if you say that Flex Lewis beating Bumstead due to conditioning, I'll agree with you on that. But overall, no, I'd give it to Bumstead. Little wheels too, little pins in that side chest pose. So, Phil, the Gift Heath, he's open class. He is reigning supreme. Bumstead, Classic Physique, takes second prize, and 212 in third. But you know what? This just proves that, and I like the divisions, I like having divisions, but this just proves that you could have inter-division matchups like they did at the Detroit Pro. So Fuad Obiad, he unveiled the veil or what have you. Hey, Vicky Vale. That's funny. They all wore masks. Vicky Vale. But anyway, this just proves that it doesn't really matter, because if it was somebody else in the Classic, and say Keon Pearson, the 212 guy might have won, and put somebody else in the open class, maybe not quite as good. Who's maybe not the best open class guy? Well, I don't want to name names, but Giovanni Aspatia, I believe, was maybe the lower end open class guy. He could lose to a 212 or a Classic, or even a physique guy for that matter. But anyway, love and appreciate all of your guys' comments, requests, things of that nature. Three-way matchup, open versus 212 versus Classic. What a concept. So maybe we'll do more of those. Maybe we'll do more of those if the request gets up to the poll. Well, it gets voted. Why not? Let's have a better one next time. Maybe not so much of a Phil-esque Heath open class guy. Give the other two dudes a chance. Have a great one, guys.